Hello, folks. It's Patty from Natural Law Health, and I'm beginning my live stream this week. And I want to thank all of you that are joining me. I'm just pulling up all of the places where I'm sharing this material, which really just two places. One Great Work Network. If you go there, onegreatworknetwork.com, all mushed together in one big long word. And then also on YouTube. My YouTube channel is called Natural Law Health. And that is also my website name and where you can find me on the Facebook. So I'm just making sure I am connected to all of these different live stream this week. And it looks like I'm going strong on the YouTube. So for those of you that are here, thank you so much for joining me. And, life is crazy right now. Life is really crazy. And what do we do when life is crazy? Well, we don't react to it. I think that's the best response. If you notice on the news, that's really what they want. They want to evoke a response. Because, the powers that should not be, they really get off when they know that they can control you like a puppet. I mean, when you think about it, what is the news? They show you the most horrific things in the news. They always show you the most extreme, worst case scenario. I mean, this is like the breaking news when they, throw that at you, even like in between a television program you might be watching, or when they interfere with your favorite soap opera, they shock you, right? They are shocking you with this very, they're trying to, again, evoke an anxiety response. And when they can put you into that state, they know they can manipulate you. So I think for my beautiful friends out there that may be joining me on this live stream, and I will record this one, or I should say I will edit this one and repost it. The last couple of weeks, I have not been feeling the best. I'm doing a lot better. I've been detoxing this week, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've done to detox, some of the herbs I've been using, all from nature. I don't need any synthetic isolated chemical to disrupt my homeostasis. I just need something to strengthen my organs of elimination and get the crap out, right? That's really what natural healing is all about. But anyway, let's come back how we are as anarchists, as freedom lovers, as animal lovers, as plant lovers, basically as lovers of life. And just basically lovers. Let's just call ourselves lovers. What did Jesus come down to this planet to do? He came here to teach love. And that is the energetic level we need to rise to. We need to, elevate our status of, is that we're only going to take in love and release love. Let me share with you a story that, talking to my mother, bless her heart, she really does love Fox News, and she does, I don't want to knock her at all, because everybody's stressed right now. And I understand it. People are stressed and they need something to cope with. So she does, I think she copes by watching sports and Fox News. And my dad, on the other hand, he really likes to keep busy. He's always doing yard work. But when he does watch TV, it's going to be like a 50s program like Bonanza or something like that. So that's what he likes to watch, his childhood favorite shows. So, they both have televisions. Still detoxifying, folks. But when when they're trying to just relax, they do watch television, unfortunately, because, whatever television program you're watching, there's going to be commercials, there's going to be interjections that are going to try to take you off your harmonic level of what state of being that you should be in control of, not somebody else, right? You want to be in control of that level of just energy that's coming in and out of you. So anyway, getting back to the story, my mom, she watches Fox News, and whether it's Fox News, whether it's CNN, whether it's any of those kind of programs, they're really trying to put forth an agenda and they're trying to shock you, right? And a lot of times with their little public pieces or their personal pieces, they try to give you opinions, like what you should be, what you should feel strongly about. Anyway, so my mom's kind of at that level, and she was at the grocery store the other day, and she was at the checkout. Now, this has nothing to do with the news, but I'm just telling you kind of, how she is. And she was at the checkout, and she goes to the grocery store, I think, every morning, because I think she likes getting out of the house. Hi, First Eye View. It's nice to see you, and I am doing a lot better. I'm still coughing up some stuff, but it's definitely not as bad as it was. And I've taught this entire first week of our fall semester. I'm teaching online again, mostly because I'm not wearing a mask while teaching. Hi, Steve. I just saw you there as well. Nice to meet you. Or I know Steve. He's a good old friend from Seattle. So hi, Steve. I'm glad you're here. But my mom was, she was at the grocery store, and there's a grocery store right up the street. And it's a really nice grocery store. I've been there when I used to live a little bit closer to my parents. I'm not that far from them right now, but I moved a little bit closer to my work, funny enough. But now that I'm teaching online, I don't even hardly go there. I went there last night to pick some stuff up, and my mailbox was getting pretty full, so I had to get junk out of my mailbox. But with my tangents increasing, she was, at the grocery store, and she was purchasing her items and talking to somebody. And the guy she was talking to, or the woman she was talking to, was asking her something. And the guy checking her out, the cashier, said something about, oh, she's here every morning, talking about my mom. And that really offended her. So now their favorite grocery store, and yes, Steve, the pups are at ease. It's really hot today. It's been hot this week in the Midwest where I live. And so I go out and I play with the dogs. You can see baby Francis right kind of right there. There's this little ball. He loves his ball so much. He sleeps with the ball. He gets anxious when he wakes up and he can't find the ball. It's like an emergency. Hi, Lou. How are you? But anyway, she was at the grocery store, and it's right up the street from their house. Great grocery store. They have a really good, because I used to shop there quite a bit when I lived a little bit closer, but they have a really good natural section, really good organic produce. Because grocery stores, they vary, and what kind of, like you've got the Walmart grocery store, which where I live now, that's the closest grocery store, Walmart. Anyway, she had a good one, and she got offended at the guy at the checkout saying that to her, that she was here every morning. And I told her, I'm like, well, why is that offensive? You are there every morning. But it was the way in which he said it. And I don't know, I guess when you reach a certain age, like when I was in college and in med school, I used to watch a lot of Seinfeld. And I remember Seinfeld's parents, if you guys remember Seinfeld. And his parents were always like bickering with other couples. Like they lived in like this senior community. And there was like, fights over who was going to be president of the senior community. And I think Jerry's parents and George Costanza's parents, they were always at it with each other. And that's kind of like how my mom is, right? Maybe my dad to some extent as well. But she is just holding on to that. She didn't like the guy's attitude. And she's got some friends visiting her this weekend. My parents have friends staying with them at their house this weekend. And she wanted to get something that she really likes at the deli that they have at this grocery store. And she was looking at other grocery stores to see if they had it, and they didn't. And I'm like, why don't you just go there? She's going to the same grocery store, but one that's way out of her way, further down the road. And I mean, she's really El Boca del Vista. That's so true, Steve. That's true. Yes, those little senior living retirement homes in Florida. I have some stories to share with y'all from Florida, to speak of Florida. I lived in Florida for about a year, a little over a year, when I worked with Dr. Morse. And some of the older people there are funny. I remember, and again, this is a tangent. I apologize. I'll get back to my main point, I promise. But I was at a Starbucks back in my coffee drinking days, and there was this woman, and I think she was right behind me in the line for Starbucks, and I had gone inside to pick up the coffee. And great, my food delivery is going to be here, of course, during this live stream, so I might have to have like a little video to put on when I get my food, so it's not sitting out in the heat, because I order a lot of fruit and they deliver it to me on Fridays. Anywho, I was in line at the Starbucks, and this was like 2016, 2017, back in those days. And this woman behind me she was just very frustrated. I don't know if she had to go somewhere. She seemed very high anxiety. And for whatever reason, she didn't like me. I don't know what I did to her, but something about me she did not like. Maybe it was because I was in front of her in the line, right? I don't know what I had done wrong. But I kind of blow those things off because, life's too short to get upset or worry about what other people think. I used to really get upset by that, but now I've kind of gotten better where I try not to worry about what other people think about me. I just assume they all think I'm crazy, because that's usually when people know me a little bit better, they kind of make that opinion anyway. That anarchist vegan who calls her dogs her children. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Not a damn thing. But she was very high strung and like very anxious. And, I could tell that her anxiety was getting higher. Like when I got up to the checkout, there was a guy that worked at that Starbucks that was always there. And I liked the guy. He was very nice. And, we were chatting a little bit. And I think she was frustrated because I was chatting with him too much. Like she wanted him to get to work, not to enjoy his life speaking with the customers there. Anyway, when I was backing up, go forward a little bit. I was, after I picked up my coffee, I then got into my car, and some big car, I don't know, like one of those big, I don't know what kind of cars they are, but the big, really big cars, they're not trucks, but they're like SUVs maybe. I don't know cars that well. Parked right next to me. And so when I was trying to pull out of my parking space, I couldn't really see, if anybody was coming from me on the other side. And lo and behold, that woman was coming down, the parking lot when I was backing up. And she laid on her horn because I was backing up, and I stopped. I'm like, well, I figured someone would honk at me if I was gonna take up their space. A nice person would have just let me back up, right? Would have let me back out and would have maybe given me some space to do so. But no, what did she do? She stopped so I couldn't back up, and then she started cursing me out. And I started laughing, and then that made her really angry, and she kind of got out of her car. I'm like, what is this 65-year-old woman going to do? I mean, did she want to fight me? And then she got back in her car, and I thought the whole thing was very funny. So I got to work, and I'm again working with Dr. Morse. And one of the women that worked there, I shared the story with her, and she had been in Florida most of her life, and she was sharing with me some stories of elderly folks. She said that there was an incident at a gas station. This was not my story, but hers. And both of these older men were in walkers, and they were in their walkers pumping gas, and some kind of fight broke out, and they had a walker fight, believe it or not. So it's just sad. And this connects to my mom. When you get to an age and you can't let shit go, and you hold on to it, and you make it personal. And a lot of in the media, they try to make things personal. They try to get your emotions to a level where they want to evoke a specific response. And do not be fooled. The people that are in the powers that should not be, they really know psychology. They really have a good foundational understanding of psychology. And, it kind of goes back to the time of like in the 1920s, like Edward Bernays. He was used like by the companies that were growing, producing cigarettes, and they wanted to market cigarettes to women. And so Edward Bernays knew exactly how to do that. He knew exactly how to get women addicted to cigarettes, and that they started placing women in very prominent spots on various media sources. And now all women wanted to smoke, whereas before it was like looked down upon, and then it became accepted. So see how they really can manipulate large groups of people into wanting something or into feeling something. And so we really need to become more conscious of our emotional responses. So with my mom, anyway, coming back to her story, she's at the grocery store and she's offended that the guy just observed, and maybe he said it in a snarky way, but said that my mom was there every morning, and my parents are very much, they're kind of like the George Costanza parents, where they're always like at each other a little bit. They're kind of the odd couple. I mean, I think they like living together, but I don't know. I kind of envision them more as roommates than anything else. and they're always bickering, but they're very supportive of each other. So gotta keep hydrated, folks. Gotta keep hydrated. But they're always kind of bickering and whatnot. But anyway, my mom was just quite offended at this guy, and now it's like she is adamant about never going back to that grocery store. And I just told her, I'm like, that's a damn shame, because the store is so close. Just let it go. And you want to, think about, and I'm not a Christian at all. I'm not Christian. I'm not a fan of any religion, to be honest with you. But I am a big fan of Jesus. If you haven't noticed, my last, 4 or 5 videos, I've talked about Jesus quite a bit. The dude, if he really exists, and I really believe that he did, I really believe he was a real person. The dude was just like so awesome, right? He taught love. And that was the principle that at that time, 2,000 years ago, that our planet needed to experience, because there was so much control. Connecting this to Steiner, and how Steiner talks about historical facts, and even Blavatsky, which I'm now getting into a little bit more. I've kind of switched from, in my time free that I have, going from Steiner's work, and I'm getting more into Blavatsky's work and the Secret Doctrine, which is, you can study that for, I think, a decade and still not know all of it. But, there are some sources I'm looking at to understand it a little bit better. But Steiner, anyway, I studied a little bit longer than Blavatsky. And Steiner talks about, like the Luciferic era, where Lucifer had incarnated on this planet. And then there was also the, oh, good. B Lady's here. Hi, B Lady. Greetings from South Carolina. Thank you. Steve writes, the only difference between rats and humans is the more complex lever pressing. There you go. We're all programmable. And then BF Skinner, that's another person that's very prominent in psychology. But where was I going with this? So I kind of I forget what I was talking about. It'll come back to me. So I was talking about my parents, my mom and dad being offended, my mom being offended at the grocery store. Oh, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you, mind. So yeah, Steiner talks about the Luciferic era, where Lucifer had incarnated, which he says was in the Far East, like in, Asia. And then, of course, Jesus incarnated about 2,000 years ago in the Middle East. And then the next dude to come onto the planet is Ahriman. And that son of a bitch should be on the planet right about now. And who is Ahriman? Is it fuckface Fauci? Is it Kill Gates? Who knows? It's somebody, though, who really wants to create, a total materialistic way of looking at the world, and where we want to treat humanity like machines, where we belittle the spiritual essence of all life, humans included, and we treat humans like a machine. So much so, if you haven't noticed, that in these injections, are they injecting anything to make us more controllable, to make us more machine-like? I was on the phone with Dr. Morse last week, and we were talking a little bit about this graphene oxide, and which I guess is prominent in a lot of these injections. Hi, Cindy. Nice to have you here with us. For those of you that are in the chat room, feel free to ask questions. You know, I kind of keep these live streams very flexible and open to whatever y'all want to talk about. But anyway, I was talking about with Dr. Morris last week about graphene oxide. And, you know, it is a carbon-based molecule, but there are many carbon-based molecules in living systems that kind of encapsulate other things like metals, you know, like, for instance, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein, but it has 4 globin chains, 4 polypeptide chains, each with a heme group. And a heme group is kind of a nitrogen carbon containing molecule, but in the center is iron. So it's kind of controlling a metallic ion, an iron ion. So who knows what the purpose of the graphene oxide is? I don't know a lot about it, but I don't trust it. I don't trust it, you know, and can it polymerize? Can it grow into something in our body? I have no freaking idea, but I don't trust anything from the pharmaceutical companies. Big pharma is not to be trusted. They have proven themselves time and time and time again that they don't care about life. They just care, you know, up until now. I mean, I think their agenda has become a little bit more insidious, but I used to think for the longest time, and I started thinking this way when I was in medical school, and I could see firsthand, like, oh my God, this is shady stuff. But I could see firsthand that, you know, most of these physicians were being trained by former cheerleaders that became pharmaceutical reps, and they were, you know, teaching these medical doctors about their pharmaceutical drug that they wanted them to prescribe, because that's how big pharma made money. And they would give these doctors lots of incentives. And, you know, when you think about pharmaceutical research, that research, I would not trust it. And don't think that just because a certain pharmaceutical agent is FDA approved, that means anything. You know that the FDA is really just there for labeling purposes. And, you know, also remember, they're not there to really fine tune and check to make sure something is really, really safe. I mean, they freaking passed thalidomide and Vioxx and other dangerous, deadly drugs. Those were FDA approved as well. I mean, thalidomide, I shared this on my Facebook page. You know, the children born back in, was it like the 1950s or 60s? The children born with truncated limbs, and they were missing or having too many appendages, too many fingers or toes. That is thalidomide, FDA approved. So, you know, we don't know anything about these injections, right? We don't know anything. I mean, we are humanity, because I don't know, some people say they really did do the animal trials and they know exactly what they're doing right now. But theoretically, right now, we're still in the trials, right? We're still in the human trials, and people that sign up for this, taking a chance, taking a big ass chance. And if I were you, I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to do it. I've already had bad reactions to injections, even the ones that are not being pushed right now. Thalidomide is still being used in Asia. I've heard that it's used as a cancer drug, not for fighting cancer, but for the side effects of the chemotherapy and agents that are used, since they cause a lot of nausea. That's really what thalidomide was initially used for, was to help with the nausea of pregnancy. But I think, you know, it is still okay for those types of things. You just shouldn't take it when you're pregnant, obviously. So yeah, coming back to my mother's story, she's upset. Her friends are over this weekend. She wanted to get some food at the deli part of this grocery store. And because she's so offended at this guy, she is not going there. And she's driving way down out of her way to pick up this food. And so, we're really at a time, I think, in humanity that we have to pick our battles. And getting offended so easily is something I think all of us can do for our health. Not taking things personally and blessing people that seem upset. And I know it's so hard to do that in the moment, but if you practice it, you have to constantly remind yourself, go into any scenario whenever you're interacting with anybody in public. And if you're one of these people that can be easily offended, try to make it like you're going to start your day where I'm going to bless as many people as possible. That's what Jesus did, right? I was watching Jesus Christ Superstar. I just love that play. And one of the songs where Jesus is walking around and he's like touching the children and the other apostles and blessing them, and he's putting his hands on their head and just, he's smiling and everybody wants to touch him because, he's all about love and healing. I was thinking that's how all of us should be. We should just walk around and just assume that people want to be with us and love us. I mean, that's kind of how I feel all of the time. Maybe I don't know. That's how my dogs treat me all of the time. I'm around living beings that are just so happy to have me around, and they're always wagging their tails. And if I go out and get the mail and I walk back in the door, they're so excited. That's how humans should be treated. That is just such an amazing thing to be around each and every one of us. We are all carrying that Christ consciousness. And if you can embody that, and even if, you've got another human that you see that maybe they're having a bad day and they say something off to you, just bless them. There is not one of you that cannot reach the kingdom. That's a song from Jesus Christ Superstar. The sick, the suffering, the quick, the damned, Hosanna, hey, Zana, 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 ho. I'm not going to sing the song. I know, how easy is it for me to just break into Jesus Christ Superstar almost during every single podcast. I think every live stream I've done, I've kind of sang a little bit from Jesus Christ Superstar. And sometimes when I'm talking to my mom, I'll just start singing it when she's complaining about something. And that will get her off of what she's complaining and force her to listen to whatever I'm singing. Not that I think I'm that great of a singer, but singing is a fun thing to do and I enjoy it. So just, imagine, and then this is great for your health, I think. I've been kind of under the weather, a little detoxification this week. And I just envision, and it's easy. My dogs are really great at reinforcing that I am love. Everybody should think that they are love. Everybody is love. Life is love. And that's what the powers should not be, are trying to either make us think we're not love. They want us to make us feel like we're very small, very unimportant, that the individual is not important, because it's all about for the greater good. That stupid ass saying, for the greater good. Each individual is important. Each individual. Bless the people that want to get injected. Just bless them. And know that you are a sovereign being and you do not need to get injected. I'm not telling you to do one or the other. I'm just recommending, or telling you, I should say, that I would not get injected. I would not let them inject anything into me. I mean, I think the whole premise of taking a needle and bypassing your first layer of defense, your first line of defense, your integumentary system, that doesn't seem like a good idea, right? Like if you have a fortress, you don't want to punch a big hole into that big concrete wall that is your fortress for any reason. So I prefer supporting my immune system. So let's talk a little bit about what I wanted to discuss today, of how I've been detoxifying this week. And, for those of you in the YouTube, there's a slight delay with when you post something or comment, but thank you for commenting. I now see the comments coming in. Steve writes that it's a beautiful soundtrack. I saw the play with the original Jesus Christ actor from the movie at the Paramount. I saw that too. Ted Neely was his name. Yeah, I've seen a couple of Jesus Christ Superstars on, performed live. And Ted Neely, I think he was on a tour. I think he's been on a couple of tours, but that guy has some beautiful chops. He's a great Jesus. My favorite Jesus performing live is the guy that I've been actually showing, I think, in my live stream. His name is, what is his name? Glenn Carter. Glenn Carter. He's got, beautiful blue eyes and the curly long hair. He kind of really looks like a nice Jesus. But he's so emotional. And he might not be the best singer of all of the Jesuses, because there are some really amazing Jesus singers in the Jesus Christ Superstar. But what makes him my favorite is his emotional expression and his ability to draw me in to that his performance. So I really like him. He's my favorite Jesus. I don't know. I could change, It's kind of like when I was in high school or junior high and I had a crush on a different person each week. So who knows? Not that I have a crush on this guy, but I'm just saying he's my favorite right now. Maybe because I've been really getting into that performance. And all of the actors of the 2000 movie of Jesus Christ Superstar, phenomenal. I mean, the guy that plays Judas, amazing emotional performance. I mean, they draw you in. Cindy writes, life should be a musical. I agree. I think we should pick a day, and instead of communicating just normally, we should communicate in song. We should just break out in song, because don't you think it's weird when you watch a musical that they're just doing everyday things and all of a sudden people are dancing and synchronously and singing just out of nowhere. But we're supposed to accept it as, oh, that's normal. But, I think that's what should happen. I think we should all live a musical. Life would just be so much better. And the people that really need to live a musical are the people like Bill Gates and fuckface Fauci and Biden. Bless his demented heart. He's not going to stick around, I don't think, too long. I think they're going to kick him out. But, the dementia isn't really good to have when you're, the president. I saw something about, what was it? And I haven't voted in many, many years, but they said like the last American president was Trump, that he was the last American president. And I saw that somewhere. And I wondered, like, why are they saying that he's the last? And I thought, well, something's going to happen and there's not going to be America. Well, I guess that's what happened with this past election, right? Because it wasn't an election. Most of them are selections, right? They already have someone in mind that they want to put there. But it was blatantly obvious that that Biden was not the winner. I mean, he's just not a popular guy, kind of mentally unstable. I'm not quite sure if he knows how to tie his own shoes. Yet he was the winner, right? And like I said, I don't vote. I do not vote. And I know there was just a lot of fishy things with that whole selection process. So maybe Trump was the last American president, and we're in a transitory position right now with our country, because I think we have been infiltrated from within. I think perhaps the Chinese Communist government is in charge right now, and we just aren't completely aware of it. So many of us are distracted. But if you're going to be distracted by living in a musical. I think that's the best way to handle life right now. So Lou writes, sorry for the spelling, hydroxychloroquine. The main active ingredient is zinc. You can buy that at the store. Is that true? Now, hydroxychloroquine, I don't know. I thought that and ivermectin, which are the two pharmaceutical type agents that I think they're recommending. Again, being a naturopath, I don't really recommend either of them. But what I've heard about hydroxychloroquine is that it is kind of like a zinc delivery agent. I don't think zinc is the active ingredient, but maybe it is. I don't know a lot about it. Honestly, Studying pharmaceuticals was my least favorite thing to do. When I was in medical school, I hated pharmacology, hated it. And I'm a biochemist, right? I just like knowing, the theory behind how does biochemistry work in natural systems. But I believe hydroxychloroquine is a zinc delivery drug. And zinc is theoretically something that prevents RNA polymerase. Not RNA polymerase. It prevents, what does it prevent? I think it prevents viral replication. That's what it does. So zinc, something about it, maybe it inhibits viruses from being able to replicate. And if you can interfere with that, then you're going to protect your cells. Now, keep in mind that I'm sharing with you a lot of allopathic stuff. I mean, right now I teach at a college, and that's what I teach my students. They're going into allopathic medicine. And so I teach a lot of what the acceptable science is. Do I believe all of that bullshit? No, this is why I'm creating a naturopathic school. Well, I'm working with Dr. Morris, who's creating a naturopathic school. And we're going to get into the true science, the science founded on love and just, truth. That's what I'm more passionate about. And, as I'm currently teaching anatomy and physiology, breaking it into little sections, but my next course that I'm going to be teaching after we do this introductory course, which is finishing up, we've got 2 more courses. We've got one this Sunday. We've got another one. I think I'm not teaching on the Labor Day weekend, but then the Sunday after that is the last course of the introductory A&P histology section. Then after that, I'm going to get into the cardiovascular system. Probably start with the blood. And I'm going to get into, when I talk about how, these bodily fluids and these organs work, I'm going to bring into the discussion some of the beautiful free herbs that help to strengthen and support these organs and systems. Because, medicine is all around us. There is a book I was looking for today and I could not find it. I'm going to find it for next week. But it's a book that Marcus Rothkranz has put together. It's called Free Food and Medicine. I'm going to show you guys the book. And I should have made this available, but I didn't. Here it is. So I have this book and I really like it. And it's just, I think it's a good introductory book to edible plants. Shoot, 47 bucks. I don't remember it being that expensive. Let me share this with you. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Now I have the Hosanna song in my head. Hosanna, hey, Zanna, 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 Hosanna, hey, Zanna, Hosanna. Hey, JC, JC, won't you die for me, Zanna? Okay, that's when Jesus gets a little bit freaked out because he's like, holy shit, I have to die for these people. Why waste your breath shutting out the crowds? All right, sorry. Free Food and Medicine. Free Food and Medicine by Marcus Rothkranz. Marcus Rothkranz is a righteous dude. I really like him. And his girlfriend, Kara B. They're just a beautiful couple, beautiful people. They live a raw food lifestyle. If you have not checked out their YouTube channel, I highly recommend that you do. In fact, what I will try to do when I edit this recording is I will put links to their YouTube channel. Lots of great raw food recipes. I think, Kara is a professional raw food chef. So, some of their raw food concoctions are not exactly detoxifying, but for like everyday meals, much better than McDonald's or almost anything that, is cooked. I mean, when you're eating raw food, you're getting all of the vitality of the plants. In this fruits especially, fruits are so beautiful. They are man's food. I mean, we are biologically frugivores. We can see when a fruit has reached optimal ripeness because we have color vision. You know, we know that when the tomato is still green, it's probably not edible, but when it turns that bright red color, that's when we want to eat it. The blackberry, you know, when it's green, not edible, but when it's dark purple, that's when it's rich in those phytonutrients. And a lot of the berries, beautiful, medicinally beautiful for the glands. A lot of the endocrine glands are very much helped by the berries. And I think there's a lot of correlation with the chakras. You know, our chakra system, when we color code it, the seventh chakra is kind of that violet all the way down to the first chakra, which is red. And I really do believe that each of those colors is energetically connected with each of those major glands, which rule each chakra. There's another great book that maybe I'll talk about on another day, but it was the very first book I read when I left medical school. And I can share my story in more detail about me leaving medical school, but I had actually, my third year of medical school, had done an internship with Joel Furman. He's a medical doctor, and he was doing water fasting. And he got me really into natural hygiene. And he had a whole library on natural hygiene and natural living. And, you know, Dr. Morris really loves natural hygiene as well, like Sheldon and Tilden and all of those amazing pioneers in healing people naturally. And, you know, even though Joel Furman was doing okay at the time, he wasn't back then, he wasn't as big as he is today. But, you know, I didn't have the heart to continue on with allopathic medicine. But anyway, let me, and then again, when I left medicine and I took a break actually and joined a band and I did the rock music thing for a while because I do love singing and I love being in musical environments. You know, my favorite thing to do was always to just jam with my friends. You know, we all had our instruments and we just got together and we had fun and we created music. And I really miss that. You know, I've been in 4 bands in my life and I just miss that camaraderie and that creation and that connection when everybody, you know, we're all creating the same music, you know, many people coming together and creating a beautiful thing to share with the world. But anyway, music is beautiful. I think had I not been indoctrinated by my mother to become a medical doctor, I probably would have gone into musical theater because even as a little kid, I liked musicals. You know, anyway, let's look at free food and medicine. I go off on these tangents all the damn time. Free food and medicine. This is a really great book and I have it. I cannot find it. I wanted to talk about it today, but it is a very thick book and I don't think it's $47.99. You know, if you don't look at this as what the price is. I don't know. I don't remember spending that much money on it, but if it is $47.99, it's worth it. It's a very valuable book. You know, since there could be a food shortage relatively soon with everything that's going on in our world, you might want to get something like this so that if you're out in nature, you know what to do, what's edible, what can heal you. Herbs are plants, herbs are food. And so there are so many herb books out there. You know, I do have several herb books. Here's one I don't know, like I just found this. You guys probably can't see this because my screen is so small, but I have like herb books. I like the herb books that have, and they might be a little bit more expensive, but I like herb books that have beautiful color photos, right? So that you can identify the plant. I even have an application on my phone that when I see, you know, weeds out in my garden or even in my front yard, I take pictures. And then this application, what it does is it helps to match that picture with their database of other pictures of people that have identified what that plant is. And I have found medicinal plants that I didn't know were medicinal. And so one of the things I think I'd like to do with Dr. Morse, and he may find a much more knowledgeable herbalist than I mean, I've got somewhat of a knowledge of the herbs, but definitely not as extensive as Dr. Morse's knowledge. And there are many other people. There's another guy who I've recently been getting into, actually one of my students in my A&P courses, she recommended, and I'm going to bring him up to Dr. Morse, but his name, because I bought his book since she recommended him, and I was watching his YouTube videos, and he's a very funny guy, and I would love to learn from him. But his name is Dr. Patrick Jones. His website is called The Homegrown Herbalist. He's got a very inexpensive herbalist course, very cheap, considering some schools are just so expensive. I know the courses Dr. Morse is teaching and that I'm trying to teach, we're trying to keep them somewhat affordable. There's this woman I really like that teaches homeopathy, and she's putting together this homeopathic school. And when she said the price for the school for 1 year, I'm like, $12,000. Holy shit, that's expensive. And who can afford that? I mean, I'm sure she's got amazing knowledge, but we have to, I think, be a little bit more practical with what people can afford. So as much as I would have liked to take in some of her courses, there's no way. Ooh, get that Tyson photo off of here. Is there a way? There's like no way I would ever buy Tyson. Anyway, I can't remove that. Sorry about it. But Free Food and Medicine is a great book. Let me stop sharing my screen and I'll share with you. I've got so many herb books though, and I really like when I used to leave my house and go to, Barnes and Noble and other places like that, I would just stroll, walk around the bookstore and hang out in the natural healing section of the bookstore and just buy books. I've got one on herbs for women. This is called Every Woman's Herbal. Again, the other herbal book, I've got a couple of more upstairs. This is one I think Dr. Morse let me have when I was working down with him. He would get these old time books mailed to him, I think, when he made certain orders of certain things. And these are just like old recipes of different herbal formulas. But this is the one I'm reading right now. And this guy, he's pretty awesome. I like him. His name is Dr. Patrick Jones. He's a veterinarian, believe it or not. And the student that shared his information, I don't want to say her name, but thank you, because I've really learned a lot from him. And, he's funny when he teaches, and he's very informative. You get these teachers that don't, maybe it's because I'm a professor. I really like the detail, but he's providing that detail even in his free YouTube videos. So I was considering, just supporting his work. I bought his book, and I bought, what else did I buy from him? A couple of his herbal formulas just to check them out. I like to support herbalists. Like, Dr. Morse is obviously my favorite. I love his herbal blends. They're very, very effective. So that's a little bit of what I've done to heal myself. Let me go back to YouTube and check out the chat box. Let's see. There's a lot that I missed here. So I answered, I think, Lou's question about the hydroxychloroquine. Steve writes, "Ha, Uncle Joe." Yeah, creepy Joe, that guy. Flash mobs for the rest of 2021. I like that idea, Troy. Let's do some flash mobs. Let's just break out into synchronized dancing and singing. I think that would be a beautiful way to finish out the rest of this year. Olive leaf complex. Yes, I think that's a pretty good herbal blend. Olive leaf. Lou writes, there are two kinds of people in the world, energy givers and energy stealers. Yes, Lou. And, one thing I've learned, and I don't like bringing this up, and I think I've brought it up a couple of times, but I was in a relationship with a pretty hardcore narcissist. And I really did not know what a narcissist was until I was in a relationship with one. But they really suck your energy. And that relationship taught me a lot, because I don't like to, it took me a while to kind of forgive that guy and, to heal from that experience. But one thing I learned from that experience, because all relationships, I believe, are there to teach you something. And what I learned from that relationship is that I do have to have better boundaries. So yes, there's a lot to be said for being love, sharing love. Imagine that you're giving love to the world. Like, again, I imagine that I'm Jesus and I'm walking around and I'm just touching people and giving them, like, I'm sending them love. And who knows, that could be healing for that person. You never know. Carolyn Mace, I think she shared a story. She's the woman that wrote Anatomy of the Spirit. That was the first book that I read when I left medical school. And she gets into the chakra systems and how each chakra is associated with certain diseases. And so when energetically you have not emotionally or spiritually dealt with an issue, it can deepen into your body as dis-ease. But anyway, she shared a story about she was somewhere and there was an accident, and she got this download, and all it said was, I need to go lay my hands on this woman. She was on the side of the road suffering. The emergency people did not show up yet, and the woman was like barely alive, unconscious, and she just sat with the woman and she put her hands on her because she was feeling called to like do that. It was a very strong, like, I need to go put my hands on her. And she even said in her book, like, normally she would just, have maybe looked at the incident, making sure, someone's calling 911, but she put her hands on this woman and she came to. You never know what your energy can do. And so your energy is powerful, but guard it. Don't guard it so much that you're, just living as a hermit and never interacting with the world. Because I actually was kind of on that borderline where I, after especially that narcissistic relationship, I just needed some time alone, and I needed time by myself, and I needed to heal. But am I wearing this backwards? My turtleneck, when I looked in my screen, it looked like it was on backwards. Oh well. But yeah, guard your energy, but don't guard it so much that you will not share it with the world, because we need that love energy, especially, right? But, if you do come across energy stealers, which is what Lou wrote, energy givers and energy stealers, people that just are sucking you dry and just, taking that energy and becoming possessive of it. Be aware of that. There are people that do that, and you have to distance yourself from those people. And unfortunately, I think the best way to learn that is to be in a relationship or to have someone in your life, a family member, a coworker that is like that. And then once you can recognize it, then you become more aware. And that's what really rising in consciousness is all about. Indy says, thanks for sharing. I think that was probably in reference to the Free Food and Medicine book. Troy writes, what are your thoughts? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Cindy's question. I'll get to Troy's in just a second. Cindy writes, have you seen proof that anyone has isolated this particular bee? Trying to still stay on the YouTube, so I don't want to say too many red flag words. I don't think it has been isolated. I think what they're dealing with is just a genetic sequence that someone, they think, had on file, and who I don't even think they know what the hell they're talking about, to be honest with you. I personally think these V's, the virus is not really that bad of a word, but I think these viruses are just exosomes, and they're just sharing information, allowing for connection between cells, between organisms. So exosomes are often released from cells when cells are stressed. A lot of stressors in our life are electromagnetic stressors, like the number, count my fingers, and the letter. Does this look like a letter? You guys know sign language: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So this letter, so this number and that letter, that's the letter when I was doing the alphabet with my sign language. So yeah, I think that that energy, that electromagnetic frequency, is evoking the release of exosomes, which contain little sequences of messenger RNA. Now, could it be that they know certain sequences that can evoke a detoxification experience in another person, and did some crazy ass a-hole run a lab where they manipulated the genetic sequence to make it more virulent, to make it more dangerous? I mean, they can do those things. I don't trust people that use science inappropriately or use science in a evil way. Like people like fuckface Fauci. I don't trust that man. I mean, shit, what he did, sorry for my language, but what he did with HIV, I mean, the guy should be in jail for. HIV is not caused by a damn virus. It's caused by what kills people is not the virus itself. It's the damn medications like AZT, that very toxic medication. It creates bone marrow toxicity. And this is what killing, I mean, when the people start taking the treatments for that damn dis-ease, that's what does it to them. And most, I know I have said this, Dr. Morris has said this, but allopathic medicine is not the third leading cause of death, which is what, according to their own studies, they've come up to. In the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA, when they were numbering the leading causes of death, they put number 1, heart disease, number 2, cancer, number 3, iatrogenic, which means medical mistakes. And but when you think about it, heart disease, number 1. Well, did you know Vioxx caused a lot of cardiac events? That's just one pharmaceutical. Think about all of the pharmaceutical drugs that are used to treat things that can be easily treated with herbal medicine, with diet. But no, we give them a pharmaceutical that has, heart attack and stroke as major side effects. Same thing with other drugs that increase your chances for cancers. So yeah, I think that a lot of heart disease and cancers are caused by pharmaceutical drugs. And then because in allopathy, since they use these drugs just to suppress symptoms, and they rarely ever tell their patients to change their lifestyle, like, stop eating the shit, stop eating the McDonald's and, the donuts. I mean, hell, they're giving away Krispy Kreme donuts as an incentive for this damn injection. They don't give a shit about health. And so by not stressing the importance of how you should not be drinking dairy, I mean, dairy should be the first thing to go, especially the pasteurized high heat dairy that creates these carcinogenic, unnatural proteins when you heat it to that level and pasteurize it. I mean, you're creating all of this toxicity, and it's creating so much mucus and congestion in the body. And do doctors tell their patients to get off the dairy? No. And by not recommending them, they're not promoting health. They're promoting disease maintenance. So yeah, I think allopathy is the first cause of death and illness in this country. Not the third. It's the leading cause. All right, let's get back to the chat box. Remember, I'm trying to keep the energy high here, folks. It's all about love. All right, so coming back to Troy's question, what are your thoughts about the great solar flash and the start of a new age, the age of Aquarius? Do you think that the current events these past few years have any correlation to a shift of consciousness? Troy, I 100% think that. I think that we are evolving. I think that humanity is evolving. The earth is evolving. And could there be a great solar flash? I don't know. I've had dreams of that. Like, I had a dream, I think I shared it a couple of weeks ago, that like everybody knew that the world was going to end, and it was just like turning off like a television show. Like everything went dark. And I don't know if it's going to be like that. But when everything went dark, the interesting thing in that dream, there was still consciousness. I was still aware. It's not like my consciousness went away. The I am was still present. But I've heard of like what is her name? Sometimes names elude me. Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon, if you are familiar with her. She is a woman that she worked as a hypnotist. And she was noticing that the people she was hypnotizing, she would take them back to past life experiences. And she collected many stories of previous lives. And through all of her work as a hypnotist, she concluded, that the earth is going to go through an evolution. And when we connect this to like Blavatsky and the secret doctrine, something I've learned from the secret doctrine, and I think even maybe Steiner might touch upon this, but the earth is going to evolve. And here's a little interesting little thing I've learned from Blavatsky's work in the secret doctrine. She talks about the moon is actually the former evolution or the former state that our earth was. So the moon used to be the earth. And when it evolved, our earth, which is what we're standing upon right now, it's split off, and the earth and the moon stayed as a remnant, and the earth is new. And then the same thing will happen again, where we'll pinch off another new planet, and then the earth, what we're standing on, will become the moon of that planet. Very interesting. And according to Blavatsky, I believe we're in, I want to say, the 4th cycle. So there's always cycles of 7. So we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, where we are now, and then we'll go into the 5th and then the 7th. So that's, that's the evolution of the earth. And then after earth, I think we move on to the next planet. I don't know. I don't have all of the answers in the secret doctrine. I've just really, it's hard to study that book, but I'm learning it slowly. I mean, you can't learn everything all at once, but you can take in information as you can. But yeah, I do think we are evolving. And I think our earth, our beautiful earth, the planet that nourishes us and, shelters us and loves us so, it also is evolving. So I think that our consciousness will evolve. Another thing I've learned from Blavatsky's work in the secret doctrine, people like Buddha and Jesus, these were evolved beings on our planet. And they kind of showed up early, but I think our next level of consciousness, we're all going to be Buddha-like. We're all going to be Jesus-like. That's where we're going. So right now we have a lot of people that are kind of in the lower energetic systems where they're not, like what I was mentioning with the story with my mom, very offended in this energy of just being easily manipulated, being easily offended. That's where many humans are right now. I mean, go to Facebook. I mean, I don't even post on Facebook anymore because people they have their opinions and they want to back those opinions with vile and anger in their response. It's like, who wants to be in that energetic system? I think my delivery is here, I believe. So there is a video that I have planned because I thought this might happen. Let me just make sure that they did drop off the delivery. I'm surprised baby Francis isn't barking his head off because normally he barks when I have deliveries. Hold up, Willard. They text me when they have the delivery, so I'm just going to double check that it has been delivered. Okay, folks, so I'm going to share with you while I bring this box in because it's really hot. Willard, do you need to go potty, son? I also might have to take my dog out because Willard's scrolling around like you might have to do a tinkle or make a Tootsie Roll. So I'm going to share this with you all. It is from Alex Jones. Oops. So don't take that with too much opinion. I do kind of like Alex Jones, but he's got some good stuff to say. And I'm going to share my screen and share this video with you all while I bring my box in. Where did it go? Okay. This is a pretty cool little video.
Easily conquered, yet we have this
Hold on, it kind of started out late. I hate when that happens.
tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. These words, written by Thomas Paine about the American crisis nearly 250 years ago, are now felt more deeply than ever by so many of us all over the world. And thank God, because humanity needs us all more than ever. Tyranny is having its final act, and if we don't stand against it, then all that is good shall be lost. Things are very different than they were back in 1776. We have become domesticated, soft, and weak. But the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. The world we are saying goodbye to, what pop culture has been calling normal, was not all that great. It was overblown consumerism, fueled by greedy corruption and lies. What comes next, our new normal, is going to ultimately be decided by the people. We know exactly what will happen if we do nothing. The brainwashed, compliant masses will accept the lie that their natural immune system is insufficient. They will accept the entire transhumanist nightmare trap. And it all begins with the vaccine passport. The vaccine passport is the ultimate offer of tyranny. If we accept it, then it's all over. They are the CCP's social credit score, but worse. You will be required to have your body penetrated with whatever so-called vaccine, booster shot, or whatever your government decides to inject inside of you. And if you refuse, then you won't be allowed to buy food. And you won't be allowed to travel.
If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train beside vaccinated people and put them at risk.
Because the vaccine passport will be linked to everything. This is all happening right now. But the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. And what could be more glorious than all of awakened humanity standing up once and for all against the tyranny that threatens our very existence? Australia is rising up against the tyrannical lockdowns. France is rising up. More and more people joining every day, because individual freedom ends with the vaccine passport. There is no one coming to save us, which is how it should be. Independence cannot be bestowed. Their only weapon against us is mental. They make us feel small, hopeless, and afraid, to domesticate us to their will. They encourage disease over good health. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. But we know how to defeat them. Fear no man, and have faith. Do not mourn the lost days of a sick and diseased normalcy. Celebrate it. Be present. Be healthy. Be joyful. Enjoy the sunset. Hug your loved ones. Love each other. And rise up together against tyranny so that our children will know freedom. For Infowars.com, this is Greg Reese.
That's right. Our enemies have ordered us not to talk to our neighbors and not to look at the sunset. Little simple things like that. A total cult of absolutely committed people that have sold out to evil.
All right, I'll put the whole broadcast. Hope you like that video. But I'll put the whole link to this broadcast in my show notes, in my video notes below this video when I edit this recording. But yeah, I thought that was a little good snippet. Sometimes there's good messages on the Alex Jones show. Let me double check with the group in the chat box. Let's see. So I answered Troy's question about consciousness. Yeah, and then having them rush in the New World Order. Exactly, yeah. The New World Order with Klaus Schwab saying that you will own nothing and you will be happy. And that guy, Klaus Schwab, let's talk a little bit about Klaus Schwab and the New World Order. I'm going to pull something up for you that's kind of interesting. Let's see if I can find it. The guy's kind of a douchebag. I think, who is it? The Dollar Vigilante, Jeff Berwick, calls Klaus Schwab Satan Klaus. Satan Klaus. So I'm going to share just a Wikipedia entry on Klaus Schwab with you all. Just let's check this out. I thought it was kind of interesting when I looked it up. 1 second. Okay, so there's Klaus Schwab. He, we can go into his earlier professions, but he's got a lot of criticism associated with him. But you can see his foundations. He founded the European Management Forum, which in 1987 became the World Economic Forum, which is really kind of what's possibly in control right now, as a not-for-profit foundation committed to improving the state of the world, aka making the world more controllable. He founded the World Economic Forum in 1971, the same year in which he published I can't pronounce this word, this long word, okay, whatever that is. Also, I guess, referred to as Modern Enterprise Management in Mechanical Engineering. In that book, he argued that the management of a modern enterprise must serve not only the shareholders, but all stakeholders to achieve long-term growth and prosperity. For them, they want long-term prosperity. For the rest of us, they don't give a shit. They want slaves. Schwab has championed the multi-stakeholder concept since the World Economic Forum's inception in 2015. The World Economic Forum was formally recognized by the Swiss government as an international body in 1998. Schwab and his wife founded the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship. I was almost going to say social engineering. Another NGO based in Geneva. In 2004, Schwab created new foundation using $1 million US from Dan David Price he received that year from Israel. The Forum of Young Global Leaders aims to create dynamic global community of exceptional people under 40 with the vision, courage, and influence to drive positive change in the world. I get all of this shit a lot of times when I'm working, and all of the, like how they have certain keywords that they really push, like diversity. Diversity is a big one. They want everybody to be diverse, but holy cow, if you come in with any diverse thoughts, if you're thinking diversely, like thinking that governments are inherently evil and they're just all about mind control, if you think that, you're not falling under the whole illusion that government is helping its citizens instead of controlling them. That's not the kind of diversity they want. They just want different people of different skin colors. That's the extent of diversity that they're trying to support. I think most of us know that your physical body is just a vehicle. It's just, it's your house while you're incarnated in this world. Your soul is feeling this body. And it's beautiful to have a diversity of what you look like and relationships, and that's all fine. Nothing against that. I support that type of diversity, but in academia, they don't want you to have diverse thinking. They don't want you to think outside of the box. So let's look at the criticism of Klaus Schwab. Salary level and lack of financial transparency. While Schwab had declared to see excessively high management salaries as no longer socially acceptable. His own annual salary of about 1 million Swiss francs has been repeatedly addressed by the media. The Swiss Radio and Television Corporation, SRF, reflected this salary in the context of ongoing public contributions to the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and the fact that the forum does not pay any federal taxes. None of them do. Moreover, the former Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, I apologize for my friends that speak German, I can't pronounce these things, journalist Jürgen Dunch criticized that financial reports of the WEF as institution headed by Klaus Schwab were not very transparent, since neither income nor expenditure were broken down. Next, we have capture of democratic structures and institutions. Schwab, as publisher of the World Economic Forum's 2010 Global Redesign report, postulates that globalized world is best managed by a coalition of multinational corporations. Coalition of corporations. Have you heard that, the United States is a corporation? It's not a country. We're a corporation. And a lot of people that get into some of this, like, how our names are spelled in all capital letters. It's all corporate. So anyway, they think that, that this global redesign means that the world is managed by these multinational corporations, by governments, including through the UN system, and select civil society organizations, CSOs. It argues that governments no longer are overwhelmingly dominant actors on the world stage, and that the time has come for a new stakeholder paradigm of international governance. The WEF's vision includes a public-private UN in which certain specialized agencies would operate under joint state and non-government systems. According to the Transnational Institute, the forum is hence planning to replace a recognized democratic model with a model where a self-selected group of stakeholders makes decisions on behalf of people. So, selected stakeholders. Did we not just have a selection? We did not have an election in the United States. And I don't care what your political views are, because I don't even vote. I think both sides of the political coin are they're both sides of the same damn coin, right? They're there to create, this facade that we have a choice. You're a Republican or you're a Democrat. Why aren't there 10 choices? There should be 20 choices. Like when I'm going to my herbal medicine cabinet, if I only had 2 choices, I'd be a sick little puppy. I want to have lots of different plants that each have a beautiful way of healing me. And so should it be when we're trying to find people to help, run something efficiently, which is why I think that if they're going to stick with this 2-party system, that's why I'm going to call myself an anarchist, because I think both political parties are not so virtuous. All right. And I think one of the other, I know there's 2, but I think one of them is more evil than the other. So I do think that there is a lesser of 2 evils, and there is a greater of 2 evils too. But, they're both pretty shitty, to be honest with you. At least that's what I think. The think tank summarizes that we are increasingly entering a world where gatherings such as Davos are a silent global coup d'etat to capture governance. I mean, they spell it out here. If we follow this link, the Transnational Institute, Davos and its danger to democracy. And, folks, democracy is not that great. I mean, it's much better than, totalitarian communistic government, but it is still mob rules. 51% control the 49%. So at least, 51% of the people will be happy. So democracy has that going for it. But what they're wanting is totalitarian dictatorships, where just a few highly selected people, and that's what this Klaus Schwab wants. That's what he wants. So controversy with the Davos municipality in June 2021, Schwab sharply criticized the profiteering, complacency, and lack of commitment by the municipality of Davos in relation to the World Economic Forum annual meeting. He mentioned that the preparation of the COVID, because I don't want to get kicked off of the YouTube, although I might, since I shared that Alex Jones video, that might have been the last of me. Am I still on YouTube? I am, okay. Still on YouTube. But anyway, he mentioned that the preparation of this C word related meeting in Singapore in 2021, 2022 had created an alternative to its Swiss host and seized the chance that the annual meeting will stay in Davos between 40 and 70%. Okay, so anyway, that's just, a little bit about Satan Klaus Schwab. Let me come back to the YouTube and catch up on the comments here. I'm so happy so many people are here today. Let's see. The plant identifying app. Yes, I can share it with you. Let's see if I can, let me go to my applications and I'll just see if I can put it in. Sometimes these applications you can find just doing a Google search. It's called PlantNet. Let me see if I can type it in here. Yeah, here it is, PlantNet. I just, on my phone, and I know you guys can't see this. There's not a good reflection, but it was, it's just like you take with your phone pictures of plants. You can even, I guess, do it online on your regular computer and just drop the image in place. And then based on your picture, it identifies it. And it's kind of cool because when you add that picture, it will not only tell you, the closest match, and it will kind of rate it like, it's an 80% match, a 90% match, but then it gives you a lot of, information about that plant, its medicinal uses, how it's grown. It's kind of a cool application. And when if you couple that with that book that I showed earlier on, Free Food and Medicine by Marcus Rothkranz, though, that application and that book together can really give you a great foundation to help feed yourself and heal yourself, if you're in troubled times. I was watching a video again by this guy, Dr. Patrick Jones from the Homegrown Herbalist. And he was saying that he had a friend who was also an herbalist that was, I think, bitten by a rattlesnake. And he was out hiking and he was like 4 hours away from civilization, wherever he was. But he knew plantain leaf, not the plantain like the banana type plantain, but the leaf, the plantain. He identified some, and plantain has drawing properties. So he chewed up the plantain and took it internally, but also kind of made a spit poultice. So he kind of chewed it up and took some of it and spit it out and then put it directly on top of the snake bite, and it pulled that venom out of his body. I mean, that venom, a lot of venom from, venomous spiders, venomous snakes, it's necrotizing. It kills the tissue. And if you don't pull that out, I mean, even in emergency rooms, they will tell people to find a good herbalist. If you go to an emergency room for a snake bite, the best they can do typically is give you like antibiotics, or that's usually their go-to, antibiotics or something like that. But you go to a good herbalist and they can find the herb that will suck that venom right out of your tissues. And this guy, Dr. Patrick Jones from the Homegrown Herbalist, he shares stories because he's a veterinarian of animals that he has brought back to life using herbs and have saved. Because dogs kind of silly. They get into things. They get bit by snakes and spiders and all of that. I mean, I've had to do some natural things with my dogs. I know I've had 2 dogs that have been stung by bees. I think they both ate bees, to be honest with you. Their faces blew up. And using nature, I was able to bring it down, saving myself a lot of money from a very expensive emergency room visit for my dogs, because those are expensive. You know, they can be in the thousands of dollars. But if you have a good array of herbs, more than two, unlike our political parties, more than two, a good array, a good mixture to choose from. All right, so let me come back to the chat box here. So yeah, that plant identifying app, you can see it right here, PlantNet. I have it on my phone. I've been quite impressed with it, you know. Things that I find growing in my garden too, and I'm like, what the hell is that? You know, do I pull it? Do I try to see if it's medicinal? And I've been quite surprised. So let me stop sharing my screen. But yeah, check that out. It's a free application. I didn't pay for it. So Steve writes, check out leaky vaccine. I have heard of that. And I think that's what I'm dealing with, Steve. A month ago, or a little over a month ago, I was getting a massage and my massage therapist was coughing. She was having this huge coughing fit. And she told me that it was just allergies, right? And so here I am laying there and I'm like, should we reschedule? If you're not feeling well, I don't want to make you massage me if you're sick. But she's like, no, I'm good. And she even said, she's like, I've been vaccinated. I've been tested. I'm negative. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, I really don't care about that crap. But anyway, I think she was kind of more newly vaccinated. And so long story short, after getting massage from her, she's touching me all over my entire body, right? She's a great massage therapist. I mean, I love her work. And she really knows how to get those knots broken down. But after that visit, I developed this cough. And I've had it for the past month almost. And it's been at first I was just like, I kind of ignored it. But this past week, I think it reached it's kind of a pinnacle. And I've been drinking a lot of Heal All tea. Or I'm sorry, not Heal All tea. I've been drinking a lot of 3-lung tea. And I'm also taking Dr. Morse's lung detox and his 3-lung tea tincture. So drinking the tea, taking the tincture of the tea, drinking lung detox in my smoothies and juices. I'm also doing, the basic herbal formulas, the kidney and bladder. I probably should add some lymphatic. I have not added lymphatic. I think I will get some of that because I know I have so many herbs in my medicinary to choose from for myself and for the cute little animals that live with me. What else? I'm taking some adrenal formula, some adrenal tincture. So Dr. Morse, he deals with herbal formulas, which usually in a typical formula, there's anywhere from 8 to 10 herbs that are really good for that, what they're promoting, like detoxification, strengthening the kidneys, or helping the lymphatic system move. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of stuff out, and sometimes I get so much out that it just, when I'm talking a lot, that's when the coughing gets worse. And I noticed that when I was doing my Sunday night classes with my courses that I teach with Dr. Morris, I've been coughing up quite a bit. And then even this past week teaching online for my students in my regular college, Monday and Tuesday, because I had been off for about 3 weeks. I had a 3-week break from teaching between summer semester and fall semester. Fall semester just started back up this past week. And yeah, Monday and Tuesday were brutal. So I took Sunday off because I was coughing so much and I just had so much pressure in my head. I knew it wasn't going to be good. And I'm recording these classes for my natural health students that I didn't think the recording would even be that great. And I wanted to, present a really good class for my students. So I thought I would just reschedule it to the next week, which was fine because in the schedule that I had created, that was going to work. But my Monday and Tuesday classes, those were pretty brutal. And I thought my students thought I was going to die at one point because I was coughing so much. By Wednesday, I was doing a lot better. Wasn't coughing as much. I'm still getting junk out of me, but it's a process. It's a process. But, I'd much rather do it the natural way and take it slow than to, do something crazy like go on a ventilator. And was this leaky vaccine? I don't know. Possibly. All I know is that a vaccinated individual massaging me, I ended up getting sick, right? So did they design this to do that? I wouldn't put it past them. Seems like an evil thing that would make sense that they would do. So Lou writes, what gets me is that people are pointing their fingers outward when you need to point the finger at themselves. Take responsibility for your own actions. I like that idea, Lou. Yeah. I think when we look at the world and we become empowered, you do take responsibility. But if you're a person that, sorry, the dog's acting crazy. When you're a person that just wants to be dependent, you're more likely to blame others because you don't want to take personal responsibility. But yeah, we are all personally responsible for our state of how we feel. I mean, we can shift these things. And I think it's really empowering and it's really healthy to do that. Like I was saying at the beginning of this live stream, be love, emit love, and choose to receive love from other individuals. Even if you're around a bunch of angry political people, everybody has a little sliver of love, I'm sure that you can point out and focus on that. You don't have to hang around with these people. If they're not virtuous people, but you're forced to be in a room with them or interact with them when you're out and about, try to maintain that higher level, that higher vibratory level of love and gratitude and joy and power, and just feel that power of just knowing that you are, you can do anything. And we really are that powerful. We are really that powerful. I was listening to Pam Gregory, who is an astrologer, and she was talking about plasma as being kind of the precursor to matter, and how like plasma is very malleable and you can create. Imagine you creating what you want to bring into existence, because we really are that powerful. And perhaps that's what we're evolving into as the earth evolves and as humanity evolves. Lou writes, Peter Duesberg. I don't know if I know who that is. If you can explain Peter Duesberg, that would be awesome. Steve writes, emergency medicine to treat chronic illness. Yeah, well, that's kind of the state of allopathic medicine. I mean, they treat everything like it is, they use the heavy hitters for almost every damn illness. I prefer to use nature. I prefer to use diet first. Sometimes a good old water fast will really heal you up. I mean, the last time I really was sick with the flu, and that was like 2014, I got like close to 104 temperature, but my body was aching. It was the flu. But I couldn't move, and I just basically water fasted for 24 hours straight. And then I was back at work, right? So it was, sometimes your body knows exactly what to do. Troy writes, very exciting times. That's so cool. Yeah, these are exciting times. I agree. All right. So what do we got here? 30 minutes. So let's talk a little bit about herbs now that I'm done chatting on the chat board. If you do have anything else to say, you can comment in the chat box on YouTube. As long as I'm not kicked off of the YouTube, this is where I'm going to be doing my live streams. Otherwise, it'll be Facebook. So, going into a little bit of the herbal medicine and how to, empower yourself, because who knows what the hell is going to happen in this world, with people like Satan Klaus who are in control or trying to create these select stakeholders to rule all of us, because they know better, right? They know better. we have to be able to weather this storm. And I think part of that is going to be knowing how to grow your own food and how to create your own medicine and how to work with the plants, because we are surrounded by medicine. I mean, our earth is such a beautiful, loving place to live because it surrounds us with medicinal plants. I mean, we can use the flowers, the leaves, and the roots. Over, I guess, a couple of months ago, I was in my garden and I wanted to make my own dandelion root. Now, dandelion is interesting. I mean, dandelion is all over the place, right? Dandelion, and people like get rid of it. They spray chemicals on it, but dandelion is so amazing. So let's just talk about dandelion for a little bit, because you can go out in your backyard. I'm sure some of you have dandelions growing. Now, when you pick dandelion, make sure you're picking it from a place where people are not spraying it. Like if you're in a public park, they're probably spraying the shit out of those weeds. Don't pick dandelion there. So mine, I pick in my own backyard, and they pop up in my garden because I don't use any sprays. I garden organically, basically, when I grow my own food. But yeah, some dandelions pop up and I will juice the leaves. Dandelion leaves are very good for the kidneys. Very good for the kidneys. They are kidney tonics, kidney strengtheners. You can just take the leaves and throw them in your juicer, and that's a good way to use that herbal medicine. You can dehydrate the leaf, create a powder, or you can create a tincture where, you sometimes when creating a tincture, you kind of want to dry it a little bit, because if it's too wet, if it's not dried, because tincture is to preserve the plant, you really need something like alcohol. And make sure you're using ethanol, not, isopropyl alcohol, which is rubbing alcohol. That's toxic. But like ethanol, like Everclear. And so you take the alcohol with the powder, the dried plant, make sure you get as much of the water out of it. And that's a good way to preserve the plant medicine. And that will also help to extract some of the medicinal properties. So the leaves of dandelion, very good for the kidneys. Now the root of dandelion, very good for the liver. It's a liver gallbladder tonic, dandelion root. And so I do at times juice the leaves, but the root, what I found, my best way to dry it, and I found this out accidentally. I do have a dehydrator in my home, and I use it occasionally. But I just took the roots. I pulled a bunch of dandelions, I cut off the roots, and I placed the roots in a jar, just put it in my fridge. And then I forgot about it. And when I went back like a week or two later, the roots were very dry because they'd just been sitting there. And they were crumbly. So then I put them into, I have a little like NutriBullet, and I just pulverized them into a powder. And then I took that powder and I took like a teaspoon of it and added it to my smoothie. And that was just from my backyard, And when you're detoxifying and you're making your own herbs, whether you make your own powders or you make your own tinctures, when you make it from fresh sources, those are really the best sources. I mean, the less hands they go through. And this is why Dr. Morse is always so concerned about his herbal formulas. And he's always kind of making sure the labs he's working with are doing the best possible job to creating the strongest formulas. But, we can create our own medicine, and a lot of it is free. And I know I have a lot of clients that I work with that, I'll give them my recommendation for herbs, and then sometimes they get like a little bit of a sticker shot, like, oh my God, there's no way I can afford this. So I work with them. I'm like, well, let's see, what do you have in your backyard? Can you recognize these plants? Because you really, if you can't afford the herbs, there are ways you can find these medicines that are absolutely free. So that book, Free Food and Medicine by Marcus Rothkrantz, see if you can find it a little bit cheaper, but it's worth its weight in gold. But any herbal book will be great. Look for an herbal book that has pictures that will help you identify the plants. Even the one that this guy writes, He's got drawings of a lot of the plants in this book. Okay, so I'm really excited about him. And again, one of my students from my natural health college that I'm working with Dr. Morse, she recommended this guy. I did not know who he was, and I'm glad she recommended him. I might share him with Dr. Morse and see if he's somebody we want to invite or work with for the school, because he seems like he's a foundation of knowledge, a foundational source of knowledge. And I really like the fact that he's a veterinarian because I really personally benefit from his insight in how he helps animals. All right, so let me come back. I noticed a few more things added to the chat box. Steve writes immune system cycles. And then he writes, just ate some blueberries and cherry tomatoes from my garden. Yes. I think I'm trying to grow blueberries. I have not been successful growing blueberries, but fresh blueberries are the best. And then tomatoes, I am growing tomatoes. My mother asked me to grow tomatoes, and I'm glad. I normally don't eat a lot of tomatoes. I think like a week ago, I was craving some Indian food. So I got out my Instant Pot, and I have a bunch of, like garam masala and a lot of the Indian herbs. And I just made a really spicy red lentil masala. It was really good, but I did use some of my tomatoes from my garden for that. Cindy writes, I'm now learning about the herb Lomatium, worth a look. Lomatium, I'm going to write that down. I have not heard of that one. Again, I am not a master herbalist, but I learn a little bit at a time. I mean, a lot of times I'm working with herbal formulas because I was, trained by Dr. Morris. He's really taught me the most as a naturopath, and he's already created formulas that work for, specific organs and for specific types of detoxification experiences. So I really trust those. I've felt them work myself, and I've seen them work with my clients. But studying the individual herbs, that's something Dr. Morris highly recommends. And I am really benefiting from, taking time out of my day and just learning a little bit about some herbs. But Lomatium, I am not familiar with. So thank you for sharing that. And if you want to write, Cindy, what you like about Lomatium or what you've noticed that it's good for, I would be interested in that. But yeah, these herbs, what I would recommend that you do is just get an herbal book, and it really doesn't matter which one. I'm like, this so far so good with this book. I'll give this guy a plug, Dr. Patrick Jones. I'm enjoying reading his book, and he's got, a good list of herbal plants. I think he's focusing on the ones that are more accessible, more easy to grow. And so many of these herbs, they grow like weeds. I mean, it's beautiful. I have like a lot of, I planted lemon balm last year, and I just can't contain that stuff. So lemon balm is a medicinal herb. Many of the herbs in the mint are plants in the mint family. They'll take over your container. So you want to be quite careful where you plant them, because they will grow quite easily. And, in the herbs in the mint family, great for the digestive system. So healing digestive orders. That's why peppermint tea is always good to help people with digestive stresses and whatnot. But yeah, we have so much in nature. And why is it that, when you think about like the FDA and how they're coming down on herbal medicine, what was it? It was comfrey. Comfrey is something that they're really coming down on. And I think that's what Dr. Morris has been dealing with the FDA, is that they're trying to, make the herb comfrey, which is, what is its alternate name? Like bone knit, I think. I could be saying that wrong. But comfrey is really good for the bones, like after a fracture. It helps to strengthen and help that bone heal. It's also good for the digestive system. But they did a study with comfrey, and they used, I think, 6-week-old mice, and they gave them a diet of 40% comfrey as their entire diet. Okay. Now these herbs, if you eat them as food, they probably would make up, not even a fraction of 1%. I mean, you barely take, compared to your whole diet, it's not that much, right? So they did a study on these little mice, 6 weeks old, where comfrey, when given at 40% of the mouse's diet, resulted in liver lesions. So because of that, they're putting all of these warning labels on comfrey, right? And it's an amazing herb, and it grows so easily, and it has so many great properties. I've heard with comfrey, like for my naturopathic school that I went to, one of the teachers there was showing a story of how her husband was a chiropractor, and I think broke his hand, and that's his work. They do work with their hands, and she knew about comfrey, she knew about bone knit, its alternate name, and she was just putting that topically on top of where the fracture was, and that bone healed up so well. By the time they got it checked out at the emergency room, they was like, oh, well, this is healing up beautifully. Teasel root is also known as knit bone. Yeah, what's interesting? Thank you, Nikki, for sharing that teasel root. I'll have to see if that's the same thing as comfrey, teasel root. Some of these, depending on the country you live in, and even like within the United States, what part of the United States you live in, some of these herbs have different names. So one thing I really like about Dr. Patrick Jones is he stresses, or at least he had stressed this thus far in his book, that when you're working with these plants and you want to study them, go with their Latin name, because the Latin names, that's kind of in science, that's what we use, because there's so many different languages and everybody calls something a different name. But it could be that teasel root and comfrey and knit bone are all of the same thing, right? Good for fractures, good for strengthening tissues and bones. It's a beautiful herb. But yeah, so I don't recommend, if you're a 6-week-old mouse, to make 40% of your diet comfrey. That would not be good. But does that mean not to put comfrey in any herbal formula? I mean, it's a damn shame that they're doing this. And this is the same damn FDA that is approving these injections where people are developing Bell's palsy and Guillain-Barré syndrome and dying. I mean, more people have died from this injection than any other injection out there. I mean, it's crazy. Nikki writes, grows everywhere, especially the side of roads, used it for Lyme. Yeah, I've heard that about, if teasel root is the same thing as comfrey, which I'm pretty sure it is, it's probably just got a different name, but I've heard that it does grow everywhere. And a lot of times these plants are so amazing because they just, I mean, in between the cracks of a sidewalk, they're growing all over the place, and you just need to be able to identify it. And the better you become able to identify these plants, which is why, as long as we have this technology, use it for the good. Right now, this is used to distract us and, get us into these heated arguments with people on Facebook. That's not good. Your time is precious. Use your time, go out in nature, go on a nature walk, bring, your pets with you, a friend, and just start looking at all of the medicine that is all around you and start identifying these plants. I mean, I really wish I went into more about the plants when I was an undergrad. My undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree was in biology. And then I went to medical school, and then I ended up getting, I went to grad school for biochemistry, got a master's in biochemistry, and I was working on my PhD in immunology, but I couldn't do the mouse killing anymore, so I didn't finish that one up. But yeah, I didn't study too many of the plants when I was an undergrad. I took a couple of plant courses, but I was so indoctrinated to become a physician, I just kind of got derailed, unfortunately. When I left medical school, I was doing the music thing for a while, and I was kind of contemplating of going back to graduate school. I was dating this guy at the time, and he wanted me to move to Alaska with him He was going to go to the University of Alaska at Fairbanks in Fairbanks, Alaska, where that's so far north. And I'm not getting in a debate of, the shape of the earth, but it's so close to where it's really cold. Like they have months at a time where it's summer and months at a time where there's no light, where it's just a dark winter. And I don't think that I could have endured that. At the time, I had my soulmate dog. Her name was Lucky. And I know she would have loved that because she loved the winter and she loved laying in the snow. And I was contemplating of going up there to study nature. He was really into hiking, and he was a fun boyfriend to have. We went on a lot of hikes, a lot of camping trips. He taught me a lot about hiking. But nonetheless, he moved up to Alaska for his graduate degree, and I did not go with him, and our relationship ended. Oh, well. But I often wonder, had I gone that route, I was thinking of studying sled dogs because I just loved being around dogs and I wanted to be, immersed with canines. I love wolves. I mean, you can see wolves behind me. I have 3 of those kind of big wolf wall hangings in my home in different locations. Well, it's coming down to, let's see. Cindy writes, good write-up on Stephen Booner's book, Herbal Antivirals. Well, I'm going to write that down too. Stephen Booner, and it's called Herbal Antivirals. I found out about it when I was looking for herbs for UTIs. Yeah, so, these plants are really, they're our saving grace. And I think that's really what we should be focusing on, or how the herbs can help us, how the herbs can heal us. Back in an earlier time in humans' evolution, before we became so materialistic and aromatically influenced, many of the indigenous people, like, in South America and Africa, they were very much in tune with nature, and they kind of instinctively knew what plant to go to. But a lot of them were very aware of what the animals did. I mean, I think about my dogs, like if they eat something that they shouldn't have eaten, what do? They eat grass. They know how to use the plants to help, the grass can help, help them vomit maybe, or help them address that disturbance. So by watching the animals and seeing instinctively what they're drawn to, we too can learn about the medicinal quality. Still getting that nonsense out of me, folks. Hopefully Sunday, if you're in my class, I'll be done with most of this. But who knows? Who knows? But yes, I would say for everyone that's still listening to me, try to find maybe 5 herbs and try to think of herbs or even weeds that are herbal that grow all around you. Those would be the first ones I would personally study, like really learn dandelion. Dandelion is all over most places of our country in the United States. Know how to use its leaves. Know how to use the root, even the flowers of dandelion. I've seen women make herbal preparations of the flowers, all of those beautiful yellow flowers, and create like little salves for pain. So it's good for joint pain, arthritis. So create a salve, and then you can like put it on a painful joint. So the flowers, the leaves, the roots, all medicinal. And you can learn about the different parts and how to prepare it, how to store it, and just, do a little at a time. I know a lot of this can be very overwhelming. And I used to look at things with herbal medicine and even homeopathic medicine. I would look at it like, oh my gosh, this is too much. I'll never know all of it. But you don't have to know all of it. Have some good references, a couple of really good herbal books, something that you can look things up with, and then just practice. And, we're getting to a point with our society, as I finish up here tonight, we're getting to the point where we have to be more self-reliant. We have to be more empowered. We can't rely definitely on the government, because we've seen straight up. I mean, if you live in the United States, you know the government cannot be trusted. If you live in Australia, you know the government cannot be trusted. If you live in the UK, you know the government cannot be trusted. I mean, look what they're doing to their own people, right? I mean, my heart goes out to those of you in Australia. But let's see. Nikki writes, I just gathered tons of mullein leaf from the top of a mountain. It's drying. Good for you, Nikki. Good job. Mullein, great for the respiratory system. I've been taking mullein as part of my lung tea. Mullein, pleurisy, and fenugreek. I take a tea of those 3 herbs dried. So good job, Nikki, for that. And it's great when you can gather it, dry it yourself. You can dry it naturally. You can put it in a dehydrator. You can, grind it up to a powder, or I don't know a lot about mullein. I just take the full leaf though, dehydrate it, and then use it to make a tea. And then, pass the tea through a strainer. Good stuff though. Good stuff. Good job. And it's helping me. I mean, people, a lot of times it's funny. When I knew I had some congestion and I could feel it, right? Like when I first started getting the symptoms, and I could just feel it sitting in my sinuses and all of that mucus building up. And who knows, was it the spike protein being shed from my vaccinated massage therapist? I don't know, right? But I wasn't afraid. I was not afraid. And I bless the massage therapist. I'm not blaming her. And I'll probably go back to her. I'm taking a little bit of a break right now, but I probably will go back to her in the future, because I think she does really good work. But the key is I wasn't afraid. And so I could feel the congestion. I remember the night after that massage, I was in bed and I blew my nose and all of this blood came out. And I'm like, oh, that's not a good sign, And I have been having some menstrual irregularities. So there's that. Although, I don't plan on having any children. So if I did have any children, they will all be furry and quadruped, because all I have are animals, pets, as my children. But yeah, I wasn't afraid. And I was drinking a lot of that tea, and it was causing me to cough, but that's normal. That's an expectoration. That's what we want. Couple more things. I know I'm going to have to finish up here in a little bit. Cindy writes, grew milk thistle this year and holly pokey plant. Batman, yet fascinating. Awesome job. I love hearing that you guys are growing your own herbs. That's beautiful. Nikki writes, flour and oil for earaches. Yes, mullein is great for the earaches. Mullein oil, I sometimes recommend when you're using it in conjunction with ear candling. So yeah, good job, Nikki. Good job, Cindy. I hope you all can join me again next week. I'm assuming I'm not kicked off of the YouTube. It's always a possibility. So I will be on this YouTube channel. We'll be posting other places where you can find me, including Odyssey. I'm posting a lot in Odyssey. I might switch to other locations like Brighteon or Rumble or BitChute. I have not yet gone to those. Yeah, so, and if I can't be on the YouTube next week, I'll do the live stream from my Facebook channel. I guess I'll start putting my Facebook links also in the description below my video. But I plan on editing this video maybe tomorrow. I also have to watch all of the video footage of my students who took exams or quizzes this week. So Lou writes, look at Barbara O'Neill on YouTube. She uses natural remedies. Thank you. I will write down her name. Barbara O'Neill, that sounds familiar. I think I might have come across her before, but I will definitely revisit her as a recommendation. Thank you so much. But yeah, I think there's another live streamer coming on after me on the One Great Work Network, if any of you are watching me there. So stick around if you're on the One Great Work Network as I log off, and I will see you all next week. Thank you all for joining me and for the great conversation. So many herbalists already. I'm sure I can learn a lot from all of you. Thank you, Steve, Nikki, Lou, Troy, let's see who else joined me. Indy. So everyone, thank you so much. I will see you all next week. And take care. Stay strong. Remember, you're a sovereign being. You're in control of your own body, your own thoughts. Keep your vibration high. Keep that love vibration as much as you can. Show love to all life around you. And what you give, you will receive, just like the Beatles say. All right, I'm logging off. Love you too, Nikki. Thank you, Steve. See you guys next week.